Hello and welcome back. This is the Thefanpubcast. I'm Sean Connors. I'm joined with Al. How are you doing, Al? Are you looking forward to episode 4?
Very much so, Sean. It's hopefully going to be another good show.
It will be. And before we start, I've got to give a huge shout out, Al, to NFL Fans in Yorkshire, run by Richard Butler, a fantastic group on Facebook. If you don't know what they are, we'll leave a little link on this video. Fantastic guy, organises loads of stuff up there in Yorkshire. Huge fans of the show, massive fans of the NFL, and tremendous supporters of everything we've done over the last few months. I've got to say to Richard Butler, thank you very much for all your great comments, and we look forward to hearing more from the fans of Yorkshire. And as I say, if there's anything you ever need, any questions you want answered, send them into the show, because you guys have been fantastic for us. So I just wanted to give that shout out to you.
Absolutely. Anybody up for championing the NFL in Britain,
we're all for it.
And all around Europe.
We're all for it. We need your help because we want to grow the show, and it's because of people like Richard that we are definitely... we're picking up some big numbers on YouTube and our iTunes. Podcast is certainly picking up some nice numbers too. So it's actually looking really good this year. We knew it would take a few years to grow into this because we're not in America, and it's starting to happen. Thank you for everybody's support.
Okay, well, let's get straight into it. The news is a bit thin on the ground, but we'll go through it. The New York Jets, Advanced Media's Connor Hughes expects Matt Forte to be the workhorse in New York.
I think it's actually more a case, to be perfectly honest with you. No matter what he says, it's to keep Matt Forte. He's a veteran. He's head in the game. It's a split backfield.
Well, this is like a media outlet, so
yeah, it's a split backfield. It's going to be a running back by committee. It's going to be a split in it. It's probably going to be 60-40 in favour of Bilal Powell this year. I think the split goes to Bilal Powell over 40. But stranger things have happened, and it wouldn't surprise me if the veteran ended up with a 60-40 in his favour.
But either way, it's going to be
it's a split backfield. What does it mean, really, for news? You're absolutely right, none really, because fantasy-wise, when you hit the rounds that both players are available, that's Bilal Powell and Matt Forte, there's still great players around them that I would probably take miles ahead of them. So in the nicest way, sorry guys, not this year.
I actually saw online there was a poll that the Jets fans did, and these were season ticket holders.
Right.
And I think 80% of them said they're happy with their team tanking.
Wow. I mean, I did hear this as well, and some other people were talking about the Jets tanking just the other night.
Just to get a good pick.
Just to get the good pick. And somebody did mention what it was they were targeting. It sounded like a franchise quarterback that was coming in, but I didn't catch it fully. But one thing that did make me laugh is soon afterwards I heard a tweet where it said the Rams are still looking to sell 10,000 home season tickets that are still outstanding to be sold for the next season.
Good luck with that.
That's not good, is it? Over that. So here we are. We're fighting for the bottom spot. Hey Jets, don't think it's just you fighting for that number one pick, because the Rams are chasing you hard.
The Rams are way ahead on the tanking.
We're trying our best.
Okay, Paxton Lynch is gaining ground on Trevor Siemian in the battle to be the quarterback at the Denver Broncos.
Well, you know my thoughts on
what sort of fantasy impact would it have either way, do you think? Is it an uptick for Demaryius Thomas and Sanders?
I actually think it is. I mean, I know we've only spoke about this a long time ago. You remember when we talked about that rookie class that came in a couple of years back?
Yeah, I think you said Paxton Lynch was your favourite.
I really like him, and there's a few reasons. It's all, without boring people, because it won't make a lot of sense, it's the mechanics of the guy, the way he operates and the way he throws the ball. There's something about his ability to throw the medium and long range balls that really excite me from a coaching perspective. Just looking at him and you think, wow, you get the right kind of crossing routes and stuff, this guy can find you. There's a little work to do on the short game, but I tell you what, that's good for Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders works very well in that intermediate range, and Demaryius Thomas can be fantastic, stretching the field as well as catching those balls over the middle. So actually, this could be a big uptick for both those players. It might only be a difference of 100, 150, 200 yards and a couple of touchdowns, but that's so massive in fantasy and for where they're going right now. It's really good.
Well, they're two sort of really good professionals and really good wide receivers, and they just haven't got the quarterback to give them the ammunition.
It's unfortunate. Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders now are sort of at the twilight of their careers, which is a real shame. And at least they've tasted high success.
You're saying they're not going to go?
Well, it's difficult because you kind of know they're on limited time. It's maybe 2, maybe 3 years. Hopefully,
and then they're limited by their quarterback.
Limited by the quarterback growth. But I do think Paxton Lynch. It's difficult to say immediate uptick because that would be something else. But I do think it'll help them both. Yeah, definitely. And there's no harm in that. And I think Paxton Lynch will bring something in that the other guy does not have, Trevor Siemian.
Okay, well, we'll see how that pans out. A story coming out this week, according to Archie Manning, who's sort of Peyton and Eli's dad, Adam Gay sent this text to Peyton trying to gauge his interest in making a comeback at the end of last year.
Yeah, the answer should be no.
The answer was no. It was last year.
Peyton Manning, the answer should be no, even if he ever thinks about coming back in the next year, because he could, theoretically. No, the injuries were so severe, the neck injury was so savage that he knows that he is dicing with.
There was a dramatic decline in his last year.
He's dicing with literal paralysis. It's not even worth it. It's just simply not worth it. Look, you left us with some great memories as fans. All we want now is for you to have good health and enjoy the rest of your life. The last thing you want to see is a great player come back for what could be a horrendous year. I wouldn't want to see that. So no, I hope that the answer is always no, I'm afraid.
Okay, moving on. The Washington coach Jay Gruden gushes about third-year wide receiver Jamison Crowder, saying he's an excellent, dynamic player and continues to prove every day why we like him so much.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I've put this in is because, it's a coach picking up their player, but if you think about it, the coach's opinion is the most important thing. If he's come out and made this statement, he's going to want it to come through. He wants the...
Well, Jamison Crowder showed... he came on last year really well.
He was excellent, wasn't he?
There was a few games at the end of the season where, it kind of a little bit fell off the page, which happens to rookies. They have a good part of the season, and then near the end, sometimes it goes really well. And in his case, Crowder, it wasn't so good at the end of the season. Last 3 games were pretty weak. But what I remember very well is how well he stretched the field, how dangerous he was on those long passes. He's in the perfect offense for his skill set, and you know how highly I think of Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins will not surprise anybody this year when I say, look, he's a borderline top 5 quarterback. I'm going to keep banging the drum for Kirk Cousins.
And he was top 5 quarterback last year, wasn't
he? Yes, he was. But I think
number 4, in fact.
This year will be a bit more difficult to break that list because you've got the return of Russell Wilson and there's a few other things that will happen. But I still say he's right on the cusp of it, if not inside it, Al. So I'm not knocking him. Don't get me wrong. That's a very high praise indeed. He's right up there. I love him to bits. But of course the ADP reflects that a little bit this year, and it's going to be a little bit harder for anybody fantasy wise to grab him because you're kind of in those awkward rounds where I've always a great believer you either go in early for a quarterback, very early, get an elite one, or you actually go last. I don't believe in any middle ground, and this year you're probably going to find it much harder to grab a player like him.
Yeah,
but for Crowder, it's excellent.
The opportunity for Crowder this year is a lot bigger as well, isn't it? Because there's no Deshaun Jackson, so those targets have got to go.
The targets have got to go somewhere.
Deshaun Jackson had 1,000 yards last year.
Kirk Cousins has just seen. This is the interesting thing, and it's very unfortunate for Washington because you really have fallen into the perfect.
And there's
trap.
no Garcon either, is there?
Let's just quickly highlight something very important here. As we both got this bang on, right? So we both liked Kirk Cousins 2 years ago, long before people were saying he was as good as he is now. We both liked him. We said that really Washington should do the business and actually give him a good contract then. Now Washington, it's going to cost you a minimum $25 million because of what's happened with Derek Carr. Minimum. So how does that feel? I think this is going to start looking pretty bad, actually. Do you know, there's every chance that they try to franchise tag him a third time.
But each time they do franchise tag him, it's more expensive, isn't it?
Very much so. And it actually will cost them almost $25 million next year to franchise tag him, I believe, if I'm right with the figures. It could even be more. So they've got a real problem coming, and it can't go on forever.
Because each time it's more and more.
It can't go on much more than one more year. And the thing is that it then means that his market value just keeps climbing. They should have done.
I think they are making efforts to sign him.
I hope they do because
they just don't want to.
It's
just the money, isn't it?
Just think what will happen if a player like that at his age hits the market.
Well, to be honest, if he leaves, the Redskins are in dire straits.
That changes the whole team. The whole thing, yeah. But with him at the helm, what an exciting team they've got.
I do like watching him. It pains me to say it, being a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, but you're being honest, and being honest are exciting to watch.
Yeah, well, for fancy football-wise, and
that's what makes it good for Crowder, because I thought he did really well last year. I think there's an uptick in numbers, and his ADP is great as well.
He got 7 touchdowns last year, which is in his second year wide receiver. So
I mean, Crowder's ADP, I mean, he's currently standing at 72, just looking at Fantasy Pros right now, that's wide receiver 31. I think 72 in any league size format. The big leagues like we go into, that's round 5. That's good value.
No Garson, no Jackson.
No Garson, you're looking for 120 fantasy points and more. I think he explodes past that by 20 points. I think that's great value. He's a really good player in that 5th round. So, nothing not to like about that.
And obviously the coach likes him, which really helps.
Which helps, because you want to get him involved.
Okay, well, you briefly mentioned Carr's new contract there. I think it was 5-year, 125 million.
Nice, but he was very clever. You see, what Carr did, I don't know if he noticed the contract in detail, it's sort of structured towards more top-heavy towards the end, allowing cap room early on to allow, as he said himself, my friends to rejoin the team. How clever is that from Carr? Basically, putting the team first.
He's a very smart guy, actually.
Putting the team first, knowing he's going to be well paid anyway, putting the team first. The people around him, the other players, will see that. That makes a big difference to how you feel. You're going to go the extra mile for the quarterback when he's put himself out for you. Smart cookie. It's the right way to...
Great player as well.
Great business, and it's the new floor for quarterbacks because there's loads coming up for contract in the next 2 years. Yeah. That's the minimum now.
That set the bar.
That's set the bar for him.
How high are you on Carr as a fantasy... prospect. He's going about 7th off the board, is he?
The problem was we loved him last year because he was flying under the radar. This year, everybody knows now. Because last year you could get him a little bit cheaper. This year you're paying top dollar price. And as I say, if you're not first, you're better off being last. Look, the difference. Carr's great, right? There's some nice things to think. I mean, because all the stars could align. I know you're a big Lynch fan, and maybe Lynch is the missing piece, and maybe the running game really takes off and it balances the whole team out, and they just are super exciting to watch. And they were exciting last year, but they just missed that sort of steady element you need, which the running game would give. And if all that fits in, they're going to be really, really good. And maybe Carr becomes, again, pushing for that top 5 position, because there's some really nice quarterbacks at the top of in the NFL right now, and Carr's definitely up there.
The other thing he managed to do was, when he said it, get a bit of a dig in at the Seahawks and Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
So saying, if we're at the 1, I'm going to hand it to Marshawn Lynch.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to be fair, that's the right thing to say. Actually, it's a good wide belt.
That's...
I like him a lot. He's a very, very good cookie, but you pay top dollar for him this year in fantasy. And I think we'll talk about this in another video, I think there are some late round quarterback targets well worth going after. If you don't want to be, first in, then why not wait? Because you can get some bloody good
Jared Goff?
No,
we'll move on.
Move on. We don't want to keep bringing up poor old Jared Goff. The golden arm retriever.
It's almost like bullying him. Sorry. I'm sure he can do a good job this day. Greg Olsen threatening to hold out from camp, from training camp, because looking to get paid. What's your thoughts on that? Is that going to affect his season?
If I was, if you're talking about clever backroom staff, as much as we like Greg Olsen as a tight end, he's obviously one of the best. Let's just translate fantasy to the real life. So the best tight ends last year got 138. What would I be worried about there? I could bring someone in and fill that role. Sorry, Greg. It's greedy. No is the answer. No. You should fit in with the team. The team needs you more than anything else. I would not be paying... Personally, I wouldn't be paying the price for it. I'd tell him straight what I'm willing to offer.
I think he's a steady good pro, but...
He's a very good pro, but there are lots of tight ends that are steady pros, and I'm sorry, I wouldn't be paying top dollar for that position. I want a good... Look, is Greg Olsen...
It's probably his last big payment day, though.
Yeah, is Greg Olsen regarded as one of the great blocking tight ends of our time period?
I don't know, is he?
No. No. So the answer is no, you're not being paid top dollar. So no. That's how I would deal with it. I'm sure they will come to a compromise and they will give him the money.
He's a very reliable catcher.
Very, very good, yeah.
He rarely puts the ball on the floor.
Oh no, there's nothing... Look, I said top, he's in the top, no doubt. But... For what value
the thing with the Panthers is, I mean, they had the Josh Norman scenario a year ago and they lost him.
Yeah.
What's going on? I mean, they had had a great season, went to the Super Bowl, had a hangover.
Yeah, they've had a massive hangover. I think what you're looking at is a team that, as much as people can see, there's a potential for a quick bounce back this year. In my mind, there's also the potential for another falling off the cliff. I see a lot of issues with the team internally.
I mean, Cam's had an operation on his shoulder. He's thrown again.
He looks good, actually. To be fair to him, that is probably a piece of news you're going to cover off. It's well worth mentioning it. I actually think, from the advice I've been given and everything else, he'll be back in plenty of time. As I said before, him and Luck's injuries, nothing to be frightened about or worried about fantasy-wise. They'll be back in plenty of time, and it's actually better that they're not overly used in the pre-season, that you don't put too much pressure. These are pros. These are guys who can go in as long as they're fit.
Yeah, but you don't want to come in rusty either, do you?
No, they'll need work. You don't go in without working with your receivers, but you don't need to put in tons of time. You don't want to burn out the shoulder or the injuries or re-aggravate them. You want to take your time and build it up, and that means limiting the throws. That's what you have to do.
Okay, well, we'll see about the Panthers. I'm not sure what we're going to get out of them this year.
Yeah, I'm a bit concerned.
A lot could depend on McCaffrey. Really.
A lot could depend on him, and I'm a bit concerned about that.
Well, there you go.
Square peg in a round hole, that one.
Michael Floyd has just been sentenced to 1 day in prison. This is for having alcohol.
It's about the most non-fantasy story, isn't he, Michael Floyd? I mean, he hasn't done anything for so long.
The thing is, he did look a real talent with the Cardinals, and he's just self-destructive.
He's a player I've always swerved away from because he never seems to deliver. So I just, he's another one of these that I just can't bring myself to ever, no matter where he is in the draft. He could be 250th and I still couldn't pick him. I just wouldn't even bother to waste any time on him. I find the guy very frustrating, both off the field and actually on the field. He really frustrates me.
I mean, some players don't have their own cause, do they?
Luckily, it's not mega serious, and obviously he will be there for this year, but just avoid. Don't get involved.
Eagles coach has come out and said Alshon Jeffrey's had the best off-season since 2013. How does he know? Well, has he been to the Bears camp?
You wouldn't be allowed to for starters. The second thing is that how many times have we heard somebody's had a great camp, a great off-season? It's like, I couldn't care less. I really couldn't. What do I think of Alshon Jeffrey? Avoid. I'm not touching Alshon Jeffrey.
He goes too high, doesn't he?
He goes massively, way too high on ADP.
Disappointed again last year.
I mean, you're going to have to pay the premium. What's he currently sitting at on Fantasy Pros? Should we have a little peek at that, Al? Or do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I'd say he's up there, isn't he?
He's at 30. So that's end of round 3 in a very small league of 10 teams. Inside 2.5 rounds in sort of 12 and 14 leagues, and in our league that's right at the end of round 2. There's no way I'd pay the premium on Alshon Jeffrey to get me 180 fantasy points in a Philadelphia Eagles offence for this year. As much as they've improved, and as much as I'm sure there is something there for Alshon Jeffrey, there's not 180 fantasy points for me. So I'm swerving immediately away from him.
Especially as he missed 4 games due to PEDs. Actually.
I'm not having it. I'm not going anywhere near him. I don't care what kind of.
He's seriously regressed, hasn't he, since looking really good? And that was with Brandon Marshall. So he'd have been a wide receiver too. Then wouldn't have got the attention of the top.
He's a guy that always seems to get this. He has this kind of name where, for some reason, he's always tradable.
But he does have the size and physique to be a top player.
Everything looks and points towards elite. Everything. He never delivers, and I'm just going to ask people and say to them, look, as much as you might like the guy, he could be you might be a Chicago person a Philadelphia Eagle person this year, and thinking this is the receiver we've been missing. Don't do it in your fantasy teams. Just don't do it. Just go elsewhere, pick someone else, because honestly, he is going to let you down, and he is not going to deliver 180 fantasy points. I guarantee you that. There's no way that's coming.
But especially with Nelson Aguilar tearing up.
Great old Nelson. Yeah.
He's firing. He's on
fire.
Apparently
he's doing well, but they'll spread the ball around a lot. That's what they do. I think you'll find that the Eagles is very much more. He's a manoeuvrable quarterback, Wentz, isn't he? I mean, that's what he does, and he works well when the pocket's busted down. He seems to work really well.
I mean, the thing is, they've got Jordan Matthews. He's got tendonitis in the knee again this year. He had it last year. I mean, that's not a good sign, is it?
Can you imagine how many injuries there could be sitting on that Eagles team as the season begins? How many people might go down or get banged up? I just look at them and I think, I'm sure you're going to improve on last year, but it's not going to be by a lot. And I would really, if the wheels come off quickly, another team fighting for bottom spot, it could be. Not that they haven't got talent.
And how is Ryan Matthews still there?
I've no idea.
I mean, the noises coming out are saying they're cutting him for the last 3 months. He's still there.
He's still there. He's still hanging on. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with him. I honestly don't know. There is one bright spot.
The longer it goes on, the harder it is for him to find a team, because people are forming their squads. They're having training camps and things. What are they just trying to take him out?
I think the one bright spot that they've got is LeGarrette Blount. I think that was a good bit of business.
You say that, but I've got a stat for you on LeGarrette Blount.
I'm sure it'll be pretty damning on what he's able to do yards per carry. But
well, it took until age 30 for him to have a decent fantasy year.
Well, he's
on an epic team.
Yeah.
Really, I'd be really worried about him.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a worry, but his ADP.
He will get touchdowns.
The nice thing with him, I guess, is as a potential 3-down back. I'm not saying he's a pass catcher or anything like that, but
he's definitely not that.
Yeah, but potentially as a 3, he's got the potential to be a 3-down back in a team that is going to need the running game quite a bit. They are better than a lot of other teams around them. His ADP is good enough to take a punt on him, isn't it?
I know, but I just, I guess you look at him and he's like just a plodder, isn't he? He's like
I thought that last year, and I gave a piece of advice.
But he was 18 touchdowns.
I think he's a safe plodder, I said, and he ended up with 18 touchdowns. He was a little bit more than safe. So,
I think
I want to give him a little bit of credit. He's going low enough that I think he's in certain situations. Let's say you were 0 RBing. He's a good little pickup, actually, then, for a 0 RB, isn't he? Round 5?
Yeah,
maybe round 6 or 7. That's not bad.
I guess he doesn't have to return the 18 touchdowns he did last year.
No, not at all. We can talk about his stat later. I'll be interested to hear more about him. But at least he may stabilise the ship a little bit to give him some credibility.
But he'll get goal line carries, and he will. He's good at that. I mean, he's hard to stop, isn't he? But you're just like trying to stop the bowler, innit? So.
You can see why he's not at the top of the ADP charts, and you can equally see why he hasn't fallen too far down. It's where he's going is fair. It's fair value, and he's probably a bright spot for them this season. I think they get a year out of him, and it'll be an okay year. I see a bright light for him. He might be all right again. Not saying 18 touchdowns bright, but he'll be all right.
I see the lights being turned off, to be honest. But anyway,
you may be right.
We're going to go on to our stats section. So, right, okay, we're going to talk about rookie running backs this year because a lot of people are drafting rookies at the moment in dynasty leagues, you're trying to find out the new prospects for the new season. So, I found a few stats on them.
Okay, interesting. Your stats are always very good, Al.
Of the 18 best top running back prospects from the last 10 years, only 5 of them have actually managed to return RB1 stats.
Yeah.
So 5 out of 18
in the last 5.
In the last 10 years.
10 years, right? Yeah.
So you had people like, long ago you had people like Darren McFadden. Obviously didn't do it.
Yeah.
The people that did do it were Chris Johnson, 2008.
Yeah.
He only got 56% of the carries, but
he made the most of them.
Yeah, he got 251 attempts. So he had the ammunition. One of the other ones was one of the favourite of the show, Trent Richardson.
Yeah.
2012, 267%, but he got 95% of the carries. So
you got to do something with that.
Doug Martin, 2012,
319
319 attempts, and he had 86% of the carries. Todd Gurley, 2015, where we saw how he sort of regressed last year. But he had 97% of the carries. And Ezekiel Elliott last year.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about Mixon and Fournette, so 5 out of 18, it's not a very high strike rate, is it?
Well, you've got to remember where they're going. What round they're going in. Mixon in most... I'm talking about where they're going in the drafts. Mixon's going round 3 in a large league. But
what RB is he? Is he a top 12 RB?
What, for this season?
No, in going ADP wise.
Well, we can check actually where Mixon is going. I'll stick with my prediction with Mixon. Let's have a little look where he's currently going. We know he's going in round 3. Let's just see whereabouts he's going in. He's going RB17.
RB17.
RB17. So what's wrong? There's nothing wrong with that.
So you've got a 1 in 3 chance, as that say, worse than 1 in 3 chance of him making an RB1.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Just for me, it's just a warning about not to get too high on rookies. Although to be fair, 3 of the people are in the last sort of 5 years. There's only been Gurley and Zeke who've done it in the last sort of 2 years.
It's always about situation, right? We say it all the time. It's a bit like we always say situation. Like his situation for Mixon, particularly, I think is perfect for running backs. I think his situation with Giovanni Bernard being banged up and probably not available for the first maybe 2 or 3 games of the starting season, which is highly likely to happen, helps him. He's a very good catcher, Mixon. I think he's a far better runner than Hill, and I think they know that since that's why they went in there. And I do believe he wins the job very quickly. So I think he can return very high numbers. And at the end of the day, what is high numbers? Well, if you're getting him in round 3 in our large league, I'm looking for 160 fantasy point return. If he beats that, that's a success. If he doesn't beat that, every point he doesn't beat it by really pains me. So I'm quite comfortable that he will return the value I need. Yes,
but actually there was only sort of those 5 that actually got more than 50% of the work as well.
Yeah, there's often for the first time running backs come in.
That's what I'm saying about the other side of the coin for Mixon. Nearly everyone now is saying Mixon will come in and he'll dominate.
Yeah, it's a different kind of draft. As much as you're absolutely correct, we can use the same metric for wide receivers, and it's definitely worth remembering that. There isn't anybody this year out of the running backs that's going in the first round in any size league at the moment. I mean, that may change as we near the season, but at the moment they're not. So therefore, it to me it seems fair value. I think you're getting a good shot on both Fournette and Mixon. I prefer Mixon because I think his value is just a little bit later to make it worth taking, because I think you have to go in a bit too high for Fournette for me. I do like him and I think the opportunity is going to be there. But I think Mixon's the guy that I really, I don't even need to. I'm so confident and high on him. I have no problem with Mixon. I'm absolutely certain he'll deliver the value for it this year. And I think going forward, it just gets better for him.
Right, okay,
he leaves his past behind and he can concentrate on his NFL career.
Okay, so another somebody's actually come out with an algorithm for predicting rookies.
Yes. Okay.
It's actually
here at the door now. Look.
Yeah, it's actually bear with me. Maybe
I'll fill in. There is an algorithm available which Al's going to go into. He previously talked offline with me about this algorithm, and it is fascinating what this chap has delivered. And it is a fascinating algorithm which he has gone back over a couple of years, isn't it, Al?
It's for this year, actually. Well, yeah, it's...
he says he's used it over the last couple of years and checked that his data is correct.
Yeah, so basically what it does is predict rookie breakout players.
Yeah.
The trifecta metric consists of player age, which is under 23.
Yeah.
A body mass index above 30.
Right.
And a college dominator rating above 31.
Right.
The 3 picked last year, the top 3, were Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
Henry.
Yeah.
From the Titan duo, I think we can all agree.
Yeah, we can see the potential there.
He's going to be a good player. And Howard from Chicago Bears.
That's the thing that most impressed me, is that Howard part, because I don't think anybody else would have got that bit. I certainly didn't see Howard coming in and doing what he did. So that's really good. Who does he say for this year then?
So for this, so out of the big 4, probably, which is Fournette, McCaffrey, Mixon and Cook, only 2 of them meet that metric.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
So Fournette's one of them.
Yeah.
And Cook's the other. So McCaffrey and Mixon don't meet that metric.
That's fair enough. Yeah, that's good.
Looking further down at some of the lower running backs, the other people that actually match it are Dante Foreman from Houston.
Yeah.
James Conner of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we like his situation.
You've mentioned him a few times, haven't you? Jerry McNicholas of Tampa Bay.
We've mentioned him and we like him and all, yeah.
And the other interesting one is the second rookie running back at Green Bay, which is Aaron Jones.
That is interesting. Yeah, there's no harm in having that kind of data. I think it's really interesting. I mean, from what he's done, this chap, what did you take from it? What were your thoughts?
Oh, I like stats. Obviously, you can take them with a pinch of salt, and but you can't argue with the results from last year, can you?
No,
I mean they're 3.
I think he's spot on with the 4 people coming in this year in terms of that 2 of the 4 I think will prove to be very, very good. I'm just going to argue a little bit with him. Excuse me, I do apologise. I'm just going to argue a little bit with him that I think I liked Cook's situation in Minnesota because of the stats that you highlighted last time and everything I was thinking about Cook for the right fit. Actually, he's a surprisingly good fit there, but I don't think he returns RB1 numbers. I just think he's relevant year 1. But it's Mixon and Fournette for me are the 2 that return really good value.
How do you rate Dalvin Cook running between the tackles? I
don't think he's in a good situation. I don't think that's where his strength's going to lie. I mean, I really see this kind of situation where you see a player who, when you look at Minnesota and the way they're currently set up, because I'm going to ignore Teddy Bridgewater at the moment because I don't think he's going to be back for this year. I think we'll see signs of his return and we can revisit this next season. I think we just got to remember that Sam Bradford will be leading Minnesota into this year. And we saw the metrics you gave last time about how accurate Sam Bradford was, the kind of passes he was very good at, and how his distribution was, which was excellent. And that really fits well with Cook. That's why I highlighted Cook in one of my videos about what why I like him as a rookie coming in. And it's not because I think he's going to deliver RB1 numbers.
Well, what's his ADP? Well,
or RB2.
What sort of price do we have to pay to...
Well, to get Cook. Dalvin Cook is 61, so that's around 4 in the large league. So that's okay.
It's high enough, isn't it?
Well, it's high enough, but in the grand scheme of things, in our league, we'd be paying top dollar price for him. See, I think that's too high in the big league. I think in the smaller leagues, if you're talking 62 or 61, sorry, you could be looking at 6 rounds in. That's okay, but once you go 5 rounds in or 4 rounds in, then you're paying too high a price for him, because I don't think he returns that this year. See, for me, I've got him down for kind of a split, quite even split, 500 yards both receiving and catching, and between 4 and 6 touchdowns in that sprinkle mix. That I'm happy with that prediction, because I think it fits their team, and I think he grows into a bigger role the following year. So I'm not like high on him. He's going to be an RB1. But I certainly don't mind him in the flex, but I don't want to pay a top price for him. There are other players in those rounds I would take ahead of him.
So, I mean, we're looking at about 34 of the rookie running backs that came in, and there is only 6 that, fit the metrics. So,
yeah.
I don't know, it's just an interesting thing.
It certainly is. And there's no, the truth of it is, as we say every year, not all rookies are going to work out. You've got to work out, if you're going to go in for rookies, you really probably only want 1 sprinkled into your early picks. You don't want too many, because you're
risky.
Mortgaging too much on it. And yeah, for every Michael Thomas, there's plenty of other players that didn't pan out. Laquan Treadwell being a good example of that for last year. They don't always work out, no matter how high they go.
I don't know, I'd give him another year.
It's not that he can't, Al.
Yeah,
it's just he didn't work year 1.
No.
It could be useful 2 or 3 years down the line. But
if we're saying that Stefan Diggs didn't either.
No, some people take time.
And then he did second year.
Yeah, people take time. Some people need a few years.
I think it's just the way the head coach works, but we'll see this year. We'll find out.
Definitely will.
If he's another Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, hope not.
Breakout candidate.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, let's move on to some tight end stats.
Yeah.
Looking at last year, only one tight end had top 12 finishing at the tight end position.
Yeah.
Can you name him?
One tight end had top 12 in fantasy.
Yeah, 12 times. So basically, he's the most reliable tight end.
Oh, well, you have to go with the guy that finished at the top. But he may have had boom or bust players. There's only 2 that really stand out to me. It's got to be Kelch or Rudolph for me.
Travis Kelce, he was 9th.
Yeah.
He had 9 top 12 finishes. Who was the other one you said? Rudolph is correct.
Yeah, because the reason is
12 of the 16 weeks he had a top.
I had Rudolph in a couple of leagues, and he was very, very consistent. As much as I found it boring, it was very consistent, and you need that in fantasy.
Was he bringing you Christmas present, Rudolph? Or?
No, unfortunately not. No special stockings, nothing.
Okay, well,
me and Rudolph will keep that to ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's so it's for the 2 of you. Again, if we look at the highest targeted tight ends, top 5, who would you say the top 5 are?
Targeted tight ends.
So from last year, so they're going to get a lot of work. I mean, it's something.
Well, I'm going to put Greg Olsen in that list.
Greg Olsen was 2nd, 129.
I'm going to put Kelce. Kelsey's got to be in
Kelsey's got 117. He's 3rd.
Yeah, number 1 is more tricky. We've got the most targets. It'll be somebody slightly outside them. I think could it be Delaney Walker in that mix?
Delaney Walker's 5th, 102.
Okay.
Doing well. Got 2 more to get.
Don't know who number 1 is. We've already mentioned Rudolph, but he won't be number 1.
He is number 1.
He is number 1.
132 target.
Okay. Well, maybe that goes back to your metrics about how consistent Sam Bradford was at hitting the underneath stuff from last week.
Yeah, I mean, Rudolph really towards the end of last season, him and the one who's number 4.
Yeah.
They both finished the season really strong.
I see the tight end list is fascinating this year because it was a real list of so-sos.
A list of average players.
It was just like this. As much as I like some of the tight ends, like we mentioned a little bit about Greg Olsen, as much as you're right to highlight the quality of the player, as much as we like Kelch, as much as we like Rudolph, they're just those guys. There's just not a lot between them, and. You have to pay, in a lot of cases, you have to pay a big premium if you want to Kelch Greg Olsen. You've got to pay a big price for that. And I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to pay that price. I would, quite frankly, rather strike late, very late, on the tight end, than bother to strike early. I mean, look how many times, I don't know if you've seen this year, look at players like Jason Witten falling down to, last pick in a draft kind of thing.
Carl Rudolph is the one basically, Carl Rudolph, most targets, one of the at least top 3 tight ends at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Most consistent as well with 12, and he's going at 89. So.
And that's okay.
Would you be a buyer at that price?
No, I'm going to wait later. I'm not going to go in.
I haven't convinced it.
Yeah, I'm not going to go in early for any tight ends this year. Exactly like last year, I believe we can find a tight end or 2 tight ends that can do the job for you. And I think tight ends are a bit like they're kind of. If you've got deeper benches, it's probably worth having a second tight end. If you don't, you just have one. You just pick somebody up to cover the one bye week you have. I don't think there's much between them that's going to give me... when you look at the points, when it's all said and done, I mean, if a tight end beats another one by 20, 30 points, at that pack of tight ends, I'll be surprised. There is one elite one, and that's Gronk. And the only thing you have, the red flag of health. I mean, if Gronk stays healthy, he will outstrip them all. If he doesn't, then he won't. And it's as simple as that. And that's the question mark. But if you want a Gronk, you've got to go in very, very early to get him in most league sizes. So I'm not really going to spend a lot of time talking about him. In another video, we'll talk about Gronk in a lot of detail and what we think for this year. Personally,
well, while we're talking about Gronk, I've got another stat for you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Since Gronk joined New England, the best wide receiver finishes on the team. So basically, we're talking about Brandon Cooks here, wide receiver. He's going really early on.
He is.
There's only been 2 top 12 finishes in that span since Gronk has been there.
Cook's ADP is currently 28, which is very high.
Okay, so since 2010, the only player who's put up a top 12 finish as a wide receiver is Wes Welker twice.
Yeah, and he's long gone now.
So and that's what I mean. So since 2012, there hasn't been any top 12.
As much as I think Cooks is safe, a safe pair of hands, but you're paying a high premium. You're paying it's 20. What was I say? It's 28. That's a high premium. In our leagues, the large leagues, I'll keep using them because it's a great one to work from. I mean, that might be just under round 3 in some small leagues. But you're paying a very high price. In a small league, that's 160 fantasy point return. In a large league, it's 180. I don't see Cooks returning that. I could see Cooks getting maybe 160, maybe 140 is a fairer metrics, maybe somewhere in the middle, 150. I do not see the return. So although he's safe, if you're in a smaller league, it's a very safe pair of hands. I don't see this huge boom because you know what it's like. You want a player that's safe but has a high ceiling, so you kind of get the best of both worlds.
Well, Edelman's a guy that's led the pack behind Gronk for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
So he scored 151.
Yeah.
That's about where you think Edelman will score, isn't it?
I had a big
134, 88 because he was injured that year, and 159.
The simplest thing I can do to back you up on this data is simply this. I had a discussion with somebody yesterday, you know who they are, and they simply said, who would you rather have, Cooks or Edelman? I said Edelman, because the ADP is just so good, the price is so fair, and there are a lot of players at that point in the ADP where Edelman is really good value, and if you want a really safe pair of hands, he's the guy I go to every time.
Yeah, who would you rather have? Big friend of Brady's.
Yeah, so I don't mind that.
He's always going to get a look.
Cooks is safe-ish, but not for me, I'm afraid. I'll let other people take him, and they're welcome to.
All right, okay, so we'll move on to the mailbag.
Yeah.
We've had a question from the hamster.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
So he's in a keeper league. He's got to pick 2 of these players.
Yeah.
He's got Jay Ajayi.
Yeah.
He's got Jordan Howard.
Yeah.
He's got Melvin Gordon. And he's got Michael Thomas. He can keep 2 of them.
Yeah.
Which 2 should he keep?
Okay, I'll start with the one...
It's a standard redraft scoring.
We'll start with the one I'm going to do, and then we'll rename them again, and I'll just pick the other guy out. I think I know who I'm going to go with the second, but the first one definitely you've got to keep for this season is Jay Ajayi. You have to believe in him. If you listen to what I said last time, I'm going to do a video on him specifically. I have him on my number 2 list, and Al quite rightly quantified this list. This is a beyond the obvious targets list, guys you can target if you're at certain points of a draft, are offering you fantastic upside. Now, I know that you're paying a price for Jay Ajayi. He's currently sitting 14th, but let's just think about that.
Well, if it's a keeper, I mean, you're just keeping your 2...
Yeah, if we just think about this for a moment, This is your keeper for this year. Now, you know, in keeper leagues, one of the hardest things to ever do, it's like any league where you're only allowed to bring back a few players. The hardest thing to do is bring back running backs. Okay, they're the highest premium. It's going to cost you early round picks. If you've got a Jay Ajayi as one of your picks, I promise you this year, this guy is on a chart that I just see this trajectory for Jay Ajayi this year, which really suits. I honestly believe we're looking at a combined 2,000 yards from Jay Ajayi and a sprinkling of touchdowns to go with it. Why am I so high on this? Because I can see where the running is going to go. You do not run 3 times for 200 yards. I don't care who the opposition is. There is only one other player in NFL history who's ever achieved it. Okay? And I'll leave that out there. Please do the research and find out who it is. Jay Ajayi is in some elite company here. Now, there are people who will doubt him and say, oh, well, he didn't do it in other games and it was a bit of this and it was a flash in the pan.
He didn't do it in other games, Sean.
Yeah, but you know what? I want you to think about this. They didn't fully commit and believe in him till you got way past the halfway point of the season. He has got everything now going in his favour. He showed toughness between the tackles. There is nothing wrong with his health at this point. And I see a huge year ahead. And that's been validated by what the coaches have just said this week, just gone, when they're saying, oh, we can see him getting 400 or 500 yards in the air. You bet you can, because the guy's got a great pair of hands.
I mean, that's the big upside this year.
Massive for him.
If he's catching passes as well.
You know, and in that offence, where we've already said people like, you know, we know Jarvis Landry, one of the greatest, safest pair of hands at his ADP level right now. You've got Devontae Parker, a lot of people like him. I'm a bit worried about Devontae Parker personally. He's a bit glass for me. But I see what they're saying. You can see that eliteness in Devontae Parker when he plays. There is something about him that's special. And you start factoring him in and the tight end as well. Let's not forget the tight end there in Miami. There's actually quite a good core group. And I can see a lot of good for him. It's a tough... And don't forget as well, if you look at their schedule, just to put this into perspective, yes, there's some tough games because of the division they're in. But by God, there's some nice ones as well. That hasn't changed from last year. So I see Jay Ajayi with a wonderful schedule, a fantastic opportunity, and I would not be surprised if he ends up top 7 in running backs, maybe even creeps into the top 5 this year. Now, I'm not saying he's going to do that every year going forward, because Jay Ajayi, I'm afraid, is on borrowed time. His knees, everybody knows it. They are going to be the thing that will go first. There's no doubt. Jay Ajayi knows this. So he's making the most of his NFL career. He's going to enjoy it. He's got this kind of... I suppose you would use the words over here as gay abandon. He don't care. He's going to give it everything he's got while he can play. He's going to do his very, very best. And he's elite. He's seriously an elite guy. Funny enough, I had this very conversation. Me and my son discussed Jay Ajayi. We were both sneaky high on him last year, and we were right. I never got him in any league. He always seemed to go before I had the chance to grab him. I tried to follow the ADP train and always missed out by a round as other people jumped up on me, which happens. This year you pay a price for him because obviously now he's a first round talent in large leagues. But I'm warning you and I'm telling you now, he's my number 2 on my outside the obvious targets list, because if he falls 14th, I will 100% take him.
So
absolutely
when you talk about number 2, so we're going to have a video coming up of your value picks at their prices, so that'll be so he's number 2 on your list.
He's number 2 on the list.
Bit of a spoiler there, but
but he is. I've said it before. He is really high on the list, and it's worth looking at that video because I will go inside a little bit more on the numbers and the reasons why. But I just see something in him this year that really sits well. It's mostly to do with opportunity, schedule, and volume. Everything bodes well for him, and I really see a great time. So for me, if I was in that keeper situation, he's my number 1. I'm going to listen to Al remind me of the list again of the other players, so I'd definitely pick him.
Melvin Gordon, Jordan Howard, Michael Thomas.
That's a good 3. To balance my team, I will probably take Michael Thomas here because I want to balance the team. I just think the volume is going to be massive for Michael Thomas this year. He's got no one else to compete with. There is a risk involved with Michael Thomas, but I think you're talking about Drew Brees. If anybody can, it's not like, can Drew Brees spread the ball? It's not like you can put 2 men on Michael Thomas and go, the quarterback can't hit anybody else. No, this is Drew Brees. He spreads the ball around. And there's also another secret weapon in the background. I'm going to let you into another little secret in this video because it's perfect because you've got Michael Thomas. I'm quite high on Adrian Peterson for this year as well, and he's also made it into my special list. And the reason is this now balances the team out. And for the first time for a long time, New Orleans Saints have this great situation which really aligns well. So I think if you've got Jay Ajayi and Michael Thomas, you could really build off those, and you can take your team in a really nice direction, and you should have a really nice year ahead of you. So those are the two.
Thing with the Saints, they're always the same, aren't they? Well, I know they took some strides to try and improve the defence, but they're like Newcastle, as you know, as we have in football over here.
Yeah.
They always used to have a great forward line, and
they're very exciting to watch.
Yeah,
they are. You're right. You're absolutely correct. They are like the Newcastle of the NFL. They're incredibly exciting to watch. They put up a ton of yards. You know, you're never going to doubt Drew Brees for close to 5,000 yards every year. Just he's that good.
Doesn't matter who the person.
You know, he could have 5 injured players who've made their way onto the field because of other injuries, and for some reason he'll still throw for over 4,000 yards. He's that good. The other 2 players on that list were Melvin Gordon and Jordan Howard, and both of those...
I mean, Melvin Gordon's going up high.
Melvin Gordon, I really do like. It's just that I have this thing at the moment that sits on me where I struggle a little bit with Melvin Gordon. Not that I don't trust him. We've seen that he can hit the end zone. It's just that the team seem to be plagued with injuries, and so for that reason,
including himself at the end of last year.
And for that reason, I'm avoiding the team at the moment until that time has passed.
It's not voodoo, Sean. I mean, you know, might have
superstitions play a big part.
Maybe it is voodoo.
Superstitions play a big part in what I think. And Jordan Howard, I really worry about for that team. I don't like, so I would avoid him. So you could easily, if the person who the hamster chose Melvin Gordon, say, over Michael Thomas and kept 2 good running backs. I think I would.
I think I'd go for Melvin Gordon.
I can fully accept that, Al. You know, it would make perfect sense to me. Any of those 3 would work very well. But if you wanted my opinion, I'll just have a little bit of balance to my team. So I'll just go one of each.
Okay.
But great question. Thank you, hamster.
Okay. The next question is from Captain Beaky. Not sure it's his real name. Almost a hamster, to be honest.
Yeah.
Is this a cut trade keep question, which we did a lot last year?
Yeah.
It involves middling wide receivers. So you got Julian Edelman, Tyreek Hill, and Larry Fitzgerald.
Right. Okay.
Cut trade keep.
Wow, that's a super good one because all of them I like. So let's go through the list. You've got Fitzgerald, you've got Tyreek Hill, and
Julian Edelman.
Okay, I have to cut one. I have to cut Edelman, and the reason I'm cutting Edelman here, as much as we just said we liked him, is I'm going to be trading on the name of Tyreek Hill massively. I will get really high value for him right now, and I'm just not a believer. So I think for his ADP, I'm not saying he won't do well, I'm just saying his ADP is too high for me. So I'm going to trade on that and try and get more depth in my team. Fitzgerald is sneaky good value under the radar this year. John Brown, I think, is turning into a glass player, a very injury problem player. I had high hopes he would come bouncing back, but that's looking worse and worse and worse as the time period's going along. And I just see Fitzgerald doing what he does well. And there is issues with Fitzgerald. We've highlighted them really well in previous videos about he starts the year off relative first half very well, then fades down the stretch.
You trade him at halfway.
You have to look for that kind of opportunity. So I would, in this situation, I'm kind of cashing in on the name of Tyreek Hill. I'll keep Fitz, and I think I'm not going to lose a lot of production by keeping Fitzgerald for one more year. I know the age is there, but he's so amazing. He's effervescent, that guy. He just seems to always come bouncing back. So I think he's great value as well. Fitz is really under the radar. If you look at his ADP currently, again, this is a guy that's really difficult to argue with. He's 58 on the ADP chart. That's pretty good. That's wide receiver 27. That's pretty damn good, isn't it, for Fitzgerald? I like that. You're still paying a high premium for him in our league, large leagues, but still.
And you kept him over Julian Edelman, who's wide receiver 25.
Yeah, I like him for this year, particularly for the early stretch. It's a difficult one. It's a good list. I'm just going to go where there's just that fraction more. Fitz is going to be. Is kind of going to have to be a focal point of that offense, I think.
So you talked about like an Adrian Peterson. He's currently going. Way down, isn't he?
Oh, he's massive, yeah.
Let's have a look, just check his number. He's going 78 off the board.
Yes.
He's actually falling in ADP. 28. He's down 28 places to anyone who used to love the charts. Down 28 places to number 78.
Yep.
Surely that is incredible value.
It's amazing value. I mean, I'm going to try and bring up, and it's not going to be that easy
Although,
to do.
the people around him, you've got LeGarrette Blount,
Yeah.
You know, you've just said that he should have a pretty good
He'd be all right.
plodding
I mean, you think where he's
Doug,
going.
Doug Martin, he's going to miss a few games. But
yeah, I mean, all of those guys have the potential to do something this year, which makes them really good targets if you're talking about zero RB or even a third running back. I mean, let's be honest, that's fantastic. Here's where I've got Adrian Peterson going this year, right? So I'm going to surprise a few people, right? Because early on this year, when I was evaluating him, when it started off at the beginning of the year, and he's number 4, by the way, on my secret list. All right, so I'll tell you that now.
It's not so secret now, is it?
No, it isn't. I'm going to get it out.
I've got 2 out of you without torture.
Yeah, I know. But I'm going to get it out there because I know other people will be thinking this way as well, and it's important to get this list out. The only one I'm really saving back is the number 1, because there will be a time I can use it, and I've got a really good feeling about that. There are a few other players, we've already mentioned them, they're on my list, but I can tell you this as well. Some of these players I'm talking about, I ain't worried about their ADP. Now, as much as I've said to you this year, Al, first 2 rounds of any large league, sure, I'll play it safe because we've learnt the hard way. When it comes to other rounds, nah, I'm not. If I know a player's going to deliver 180 points, I'll come up and take him when I want him, and I'll worry about other things later because that's the way you hurt ADP drafting. Anyway, Adrian Peterson, right? So what do I think? First of all, I doubted him, and every time I have doubted him, every single time when he had his injury and he came back, I went, no, I don't believe in him for this year. I think it's a big red flag, and he had 2,000 yards when he came back. I felt like a chump. Every time I've doubted him. And I'm saying this year, for his ADP, he's 32 years old, his ADP is so good now. Yeah, there's a risk involved. Of course there is. But he's in the best offence of his life. And what could he deliver? Well, let's not forget what he did before last year. Yeah, he hit incredible 1,485 yards, 11 touchdowns. That was the season prior to what happened. He's superhuman, okay? It's not unbelievable that he can go back to that kind of form this season. That means that this guy is a between top 5 and 10 overall running back, because he's mostly a running back rather than a receiver, as we know. That's never going to change now at this age. So he's not going to quite be in the top echelon because he can't do both things. But he could easily be in that 5 to 10 range. So his ADP is way off base. I mean, if we're going to put Marshall Lynch in the second round of a large league...
Yeah, but Marshall Lynch is down at number 1, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Hood and you've got Washington.
I'm not worried about...
You've got Richard.
As you know and I know all too well, as much as people... You know, where have we heard so far anybody go, well, Ingram's the consensus number 1? They haven't said that.
I don't like Ingram.
No, they haven't said that. What they've done is it's all been very quiet. And I'll tell you what I think will happen is, as we get nearer camp, I bet you Peterson, because he looks great, is going to come bouncing back. He's going to have one of his finest years. This could be his last hurrah, but he's going to have a great year this year, because I doubted him at the beginning. And every time I've doubted him, I've been proved wrong. So I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to make sure I'm on him this time. And I'm saying to you, his ADP is super crazy good value. As a potential, you could have drafted 2 early running backs. Just think if you could get Peterson as your third, even if he's just a flex play. What if he delivers this?
I mean, if you don't zero RB grabs, I mean, he is
a great target for zero RB.
He could be he could finish
fabulous target. I mean, I also think as well is you got to think, right? So really, when you look at his career, the other thing that's happened is in this year, if I read you out something I wrote about him, right? So really, Minnesota should have thrown to him more in the past. And if you think about it, one of his best years was in 2009 with Brett Favre. He caught 43 balls that year for 436 yards. It's not like he's not capable. We're talking about Drew Brees, right? So as much as I've said, yeah, well, I'm being optimistic, top 5 to 10, the guy has the capability.
You're talking about 2 Hall of Fame players, aren't you?
There are very few
undoubtedly
players who rush for 2,000 yards. Number 1, that is a huge, massive thing for running backs. That's like puts you in a special elite club. If you then win a Super Bowl, if you then do other things, but this guy, not only did you look, he's the record holder really. In my eyes, he's one of the great running backs of all time. He's so tough.
And not even doing it on a good team. Really.
And not doing it on a good team. So I'm not doubting him, and I'm telling you now, this is a guy, yes, there is a risk. Of course there's a risk. But that's why his ADP is where it is. But because his ADP is so cheap, this could be your first running back candidate. This could be your third running back candidate. In all honesty, when you get past the first few rounds in any drafting, we'll do a video on this, I can show you. Al's got metrics about, his little stats are fantastic. I've got a stat metrics about how likely a player is to lock in any given round. Round 1 and 2, it won't surprise anybody listening in that the values are about 80 to 70% round 1, 80% round 1, 70%, 70-ish% round 2. So those are your best 2 rounds. Once you go outside of that, the values start declining by about 5% per round quickly. And in larger leagues, the value actually declines a little bit heavier, 7-8%. So very quickly you start dropping away, and soon you're at 50%. So AP is in that round where there's a risk. But every player you draft outside your first 2 comes with a risk. That's why their ADPs are there.
Yeah, but he's not like, say, Jamal Charles, who's going first round last year, or early second.
There are so many players that are in that sort of round where he's going, where AP is worth the risk. I mean, think about where he is, right? So, his current territory. So, could you possibly bring up the ADP for us one more time?
Yeah, I've got it, yeah.
Give us running backs and other players around him. At the rate
so you got LeGarrette Blount, he's going at 75.
Yeah, and that's fair call. You could take either running back, and some people might play for
You've got Doug Martin, he's missing 3 games, 84.
Yeah.
Rob Kelly, 85, he could well lose his job.
Yeah.
Danny Woodhead, who's receiving back only at 87.
Yeah, Danny Woodhead's I've got some love for him because of what he can do, but he's not an all-round back. He's more a zero RB back.
He's a quality.
I know who I would rather have if you're.
Then you're into the theory.
And give us some of the wide receivers at that range, just so we have a balance on it.
You've got Delaney Walker, Willie Snead.
Yeah.
So a tight end and Willie Snead, same team but a wide receiver. So Deshaun Jackson.
You see why I'm highlighting.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't want to be that owner, right? So this is how I've looked at it. Okay. So I know many people saying, yeah, but how would I phrase this?
So Calvin Benjamin's going at 74.
Do you want to be the owner, right? So this is the situation. Let me give you a quick highlight on this. Let's imagine a scene. I'm in a large league, or any league actually. We reach the point where AP's still on the board. There's a few players either side of him. AP's on the board and I'm drafting next. I am running to the draft. I am grabbing that player with both hands.
Falling over.
I'm falling over and taking out and calling his name out. And the reason is I do not want to be that guy that when I look back a year down the line after this, I go, crikey, why didn't I see the fact he was playing in New Orleans, his best offence ever. He could get 400 yards receiving because he's got the best quarterback he's seen since Brett Favre. And I didn't take him because I was slightly worried about injury risk. He's Mr. Superhuman. If anybody can do it, it's Adrian Peterson. I will never doubt him until he retires. So I will say to you all now, this is a risk so worth taking, and that is why he's on my list.
And as everyone knows, with the luck that Sean has with these draft players, that's the end of Adrian Peterson's career for this.
Well,
I totally agree with you.
Every year is different, and we mustn't lose sight of the fact that
it's stupid value.
It's a brilliant value for where.
And I expect that to rise, and I expect people to take him earlier than.
I think. Well, it's worth if you've got drafts coming up, and you've got your lock-in players in, and then you reach that point in the draft. It's so worth the punt. I mean, I don't understand why he's being missed or not even talked about in any fantasy circles. People seem to be sort of, it's over, it's glossed over. It's New Orleans Saints. We're talking about players like Willie Snead having a good year. So why would Adrian Peterson? I mean, I love Willie Snead for this year, but AP is effervescent. He's going to beat out Mark Ingram. My God, he'll beat him out.
I mean, they played Hightower over Ingram a lot of the time last year.
I mean
that tells you all you need to know.
Look, if you've got this spread offense, right? So you've got Michael Thomas, big man, red zone target, you're inside the 10. Put him out in the corner, whichever one you want for a fade option. Willie Snead underneath. You've got potential of putting AP in the backfield. I don't even know who you're going to mark. I mean, what are you going to do? You can't double team Michael Thomas and leave the middle open because AP is going to run through it. It looks fantastic for AP. So I am absolutely all in. And sure, I'm giving away some big stuff here, but you know what? I like doing that.
That's your job.
That's what we're supposed to do. And I still believe you can only take one player around. You never know where I value a player. So, as I've said to you already in this podcast, I've got values on players where they're not going in that ADP round. You can no chance, guys. First 2 rounds, yeah, sure, I'll follow your ADP because I don't want to get caught out.
Yeah, but you follow the ADP of the players you like.
Yeah, round 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I am not following ADP. They're still good targets, but I'm going to take them when I want them because if I believe in them, I'm having them. So you're blimmin' Martavius Bryant to this world. You think you're going to get in round 4 in a large league? You're going to have to think again. You think you're going to get AP? You're going to have to think again. You're going to have to start abandoning your AP.
Mike Gillisley, you're going to have to think again.
Have to think again. You have to think again. We can only get one target around, but people are going to have to start thinking away from ADP. It's a safety valve list, which is fine. but you're going to have to think around them, because I tell you what, that's the best way of drafting, is when people are sort of sitting there using their ADPs. I'm all for playing that game. I've seen it played out and used against me, and I'll do that the first 2 rounds so I don't look like a fool, because I've tried to be a bit different. But once we go outside those first 2 rounds, all bets are off, and I'll take the players that I believe in because they're right. Now, I may go I won't go 2 rounds crazy or 3 rounds crazy. I may go a round up because I want them ahead of everybody else. But I've got a plan in place which I think is going to be quite good fun for this year, which will give me a team I wanted. And that's all you want to do in fantasy, is have some fun.
Right.
So there you go. There's a way to play the game.
Okay, so we're coming to the end of the podcast. I mean, thanks for listening if you're still here. I mean, and if you like what you've heard, please hit the thumbs up on the video. That really helps us, and share the video. We're trying to get out to as many people as possible.
Really do appreciate it, and keep giving us shouts out where you can. Keep sharing the videos as ours says, and also if you want to shout out, we are happy to do it. There are a number of people out there who've been really good. I'll just give a couple of other final mentions at the end today. It's no harm. Claire de Bear, well done for all the good work you do in this country for the NFL and promoting the NFL and the free merchandise you give out. And Steve Poland of NFL Cards UK, he does his own site. We'll try and get some links on these videos to him. It does an amazing site, Touchdown House as well. They all do an amazing job at getting people infused about American football, in love with American football, and just basically talking about American football. So it's well worth our while. Keep shouting these guys out and sharing some links.
And if you've got a love of the NFL, and fantasy, come and join our Discord chat, because you'll be with likewise thinking people that love it, and they talk about it all the year round.
As you can probably tell, we don't mind sharing stuff with you, and we want you to do well in your leagues, because your success is actually our success, and that's what we want to see.
There's the link to the Discord chat on the thefanpub.com, and also on our YouTube channel as well. If you look at the About page, you can find all our details there. And once again, thanks again for listening.
Thank you.